Hello and welcome to With Winning in Mind. I'm your host, Troy Bassham, along with
Heather Sumlin, and this is an Ask a Champion segment. We're so excited we get to interview Barbara Currier. Welcome, Barbara.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
You look great in that shirt, by the way.
Well, thanks. It's my With Winning in Mind shirt.
I remember when you got that With Winning in Mind shirt.
I think you gave this to me when I had shingles at the time, and it was so soft that it was like the only thing I could wear because everything else felt like I was, covered in third-degree burns. So I'm pretty sure this became like my favorite shirt then. I don't have shingles now, so yay.
So tell us a little bit about, this is all about asking a champion questions about how they became a champion and what they do in their sport and all of the things, but you have a background in competition and just life experience. So give us a little backstory on your competitive experience.
Well, so I was born with 3 fingers on both hands and shorter arms. And actually my arms were, when I was born, so 2 fingers were stuck together. So I had my first surgery when I was 2 days old. And then as I was growing up, I continued to have surgeries every year until I was 7 because my arms were actually growing backwards. So they had to go in and break a lot of bones and do a lot of things. And so my mom spent like the first 7 years of my life traveling around. Lots of doctors told her that, there was going to be a lot of stuff I wasn't going to be able to do. And, I was going to have a lot of limitations. And my mother, she's an absolute saint. She was like, nope, you're going to be good. You're going to have to learn how to do some things differently, but you're going to be good. So I started riding horses at a very young age. I think I started when I was 5. And at the time, my biological father wasn't as supportive. He was kind of embarrassed by me, and he didn't want me to do basically anything. And my mom was amazing and was like, nope, she's going to do this. And she started with me with horseback riding lessons. And she bought me my first pony when I was 8 or 9. But I had to take care of it myself, and I had to learn how to do all the things. And she would help me, but she would be like, we got to figure out how you can do this on your own. So one of the things that I remember, we lived in New Hampshire, and so it was really cold a lot of the time, lots of snow, and I had to go down and blanket my pony. And the blanket was really heavy. And most people, when you blanket a horse, you throw the blanket up on their back. Well, I just couldn't. I didn't have the upper body strength to do that, but I had to blanket my pony. And so I backed my pony into the wall, and I propped the whole blanket up on my head, and I just started running until I hit the side of her, and then I heaved the blanket up over her head. And she just stood there and let me do it. But those were like the things that I had to learn how to do things a little bit differently. So I had a really good horse career. I rode into my early 20s and competed at quite a high level. There was certain types of horses that I could ride and others that I couldn't. I tend to do better on horses that were built more uphill because of the center of gravity with my arms being shorter. If I was pulled forward too much, it's not a good thing to be pulled forward on your horse's neck. So there was horses that were better for me than others. But I did show jumping. So I did like this big 6-foot fences, and then I went into cross country, and then I did endurance. And that happened all up into my 20s. And then my body kind of started to break down, and it just wasn't enjoying the riding anymore. Over the years, I had obviously gotten injured quite a bit, and things were just starting to break down. And I had gotten my first dog as an adult. It was a Chihuahua, and he needed a job. And I thought agility looked really cool because it was basically shrunken down show jumping.
It is. That makes sense.
Yeah, then that's actually where agility has come from. It was taken from show jumping with horses and miniaturized down, and it's evolved over the years. But that was where it started from.
I guess horses don't do a teeter-totter.
Yeah, but I'm going to guess right quick. It's a lot easier to blanket that dog.
Yes,
that's
so much easier. And also you don't have the fear of I could potentially die when you go out to the agility field like you do with horses. So there's a little bit less anxiety there on that one. I mean, accidents still happen. People do get injured in agility. Thankfully, knock on wood, I have not yet. But I haven't fallen. I've, gotten running injuries, but other than that. So I started agility with my first dog, and it was super fun. I really enjoyed it. And I think I was doing agility for probably 10 years before I actively started teaching. I started back in 1998, and just the way I'm such an OCD type A person that when I get into anything, I just tackle it. I just immerse myself in it. It's the be all end all. I want to be the best. I'm not great at being mediocre. And so I'm not somebody that has lots of different hobbies because I find I can't be the best at lots of different things. So I tend to have like my one or two focused things and then do everything I can to be the absolute best at that. So I just kind of went all bore into agility and have had quite a successful career. National finalist a lot. I've been on the world teams. One of the things that is a little unusual about me that's not common in the agility world is I don't do one breed of dog. So a lot of people get like their breed and it becomes their breed and that's what they continue with. So I've competed successfully over 25 different breeds. And after I own one breed, I move on to another one. So I very rarely repeat the breed because I just find that there's so many cool breeds of dogs out there and they all teach me something different. And so they just make me a better dog trainer. So I've actually competed in every single jump height that we have in agility. And I just love working with all the different types of dogs and the different challenges that they bring to the table.
So what is your biggest, like when you look back at your career, the things you've won and were successful, what is your go-to moment that you're like, yes, this is what I really look back and
like
cherish?
A champion moment?
Yeah. Is there one or two that you're just like for me in my career, there's a couple that just stand out and it's not always, what people think, it's not always the biggest, grandest, but there's one that you cherish the most. Is there one like championship that you look back on? You're like, yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So my first year, so Miso is my miniature poodle. And my first year trying out for the world team with her, we went to Rhode Island for tryouts and she was 2.5. I just started competing her at 2. So she hadn't been competing very long. And so we went up there and I mean, the people that try out for the team, the teams that go there are just amazing. I mean, the talent is crazy. And we jumped in the 12-inch division, and the 12-inch division has crazy fast, amazingly talented handlers and dog teams. And so Miso and I went up there, and I just was kind of looking to see what we had, where we were in our training, what more things we needed to work on. And, it can be nerve-wracking going to these big events with all of these, hugely accomplished and talented dogs handler teams. And so we went in and I really didn't expect anything of it. And I just, was hoping to go and get some good, what we need to go home and work on quality things there. And we went into round 1 and we were towards the end of the class. And she went in there and we just laid it down. Like she did all the things that I was like, whoa, do you know that? And we ended up winning the round. And I was so shocked. And I remember texting my husband and my best friend and being like, oh my God, we just did this. We just won this round. And I was just so proud of us because I just, at that point, we were still a pretty new team with each other. And, later down the road, I got to the point where, I'd go into runs and be like, we got this, but we weren't at that place yet. And she was like, Mom, I got this, whether you do or not, I got this. And we just laid it down. And that's that was 5 years ago. I can still remember the course. Like if you gave me a piece of paper, I could write down the course where all the obstacles were, tell you exactly what I did, how I handled it. That's one of those etched in my memory forever courses.
That's so cool.
I love that.
Yeah, I like hearing those special victory moments. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, jump to the present. What are you doing now and for a living and competing, or are you just coaching?
Well, up to about 2 weeks ago, things have changed a little bit. So currently, so Miso unfortunately had to retire early due to she has a genetic injury or genetic disease called intervertebral disc disease. So basically, her discs are degenerating and dissolving. And so she retired sadly at 5. And that was a big blow for me.
That was a hard time, wasn't it?
It was a really hard time because we had gone to tryouts, and unbeknownst to me at tryouts, she was running with a herniated disc. And I did not know it. And I had body workers working on her nonstop. I mean, I was rooming with her chiropractic veterinarian. People were working, and nobody knew it. She didn't tell any of us until I got home. And we ended up making the team. But when we got home, she became very painful and sore, and took 3 weeks of running every diagnostic test. Finally, we did an MRI, and her discs were black. They were completely degenerating. And so unfortunately, that was the end of her career right then and there. So that was really hard. And then COVID hit shortly thereafter. And it was a little bit of good timing in the sense that I was a little bit burnt out and just racked with grief from losing my team with Miso. I mean, I didn't lose Miso. She didn't die, but we lost something. There was some major grief there. So I basically did nothing during COVID. I didn't do any agility. My field sat dormant. I didn't do anything. I just went running every day. And then when things started to kind of go back, we were able to do outside stuff. I started teaching a little bit again, and I've slowly gotten back into it. I have a young dog, a working cocker that I imported from England, and he's amazing. His name is Ego. He's 3 now, and
what a name, Ego.
Yeah, my little waffle.
Lego, my Ego.
Exactly.
My partner in crime.
And he's so cute too.
Yeah,
he's so cute.
He's adorable, and he's all black, so I call him my little burnt waffle. He's amazing. It's been hard though, because it's been hard to not compare the team that Miso and I had with, because what he and I have is very different than what Miso and I had. Miso was very serious. She was always like, step to the line, let's do this, where he's a boy, and so he's goofy and he's way more sensitive. And so it's been a little bit of a hard transition to not compare him to her and to let him have his own journey, because he deserves that.
Sounds like he wants to be human.
Kind of. So I am competing him. Unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, he got injured at a trial. And so now he may be in rehab for 6 months or so. So if that's the case, he's the only dog I have competing right now. I will just be coaching because I won't have a dog to run. So that's
one of the struggles as a handler, is that it's not all on you. Like you have your extra, you have your furry friend who's your canine partner, and a lot of it depends on them. And that's different than, your sport where it was like all on you all the time. And this is a completely different scenario. You can be all in, and then your dog's not able, and then you have to switch gears a little bit.
Or they're not willing either.
Or they can.
I'm not doing it today. And you're like,
well,
that happens.
And there are dogs that don't like agility, or they like agility, but they don't want to compete. I mean, that happens all the time. We get these dogs saying, to do this sport, but just because we get them for it doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to like to do it. And I've always been very adamant about, I'm not going to beg a dog to do agility. If they don't want to do it, then I will find something else for them to do. It's because our dogs just, they do have their own minds and their own opinions. And the other hard part in agility is, athletes get hurt. We're sore all the time. Like I do, I do distance running called Connie Cross with my dogs. And I also do CrossFit 4 times a week. So it's pretty normal for me to wake up and be sore. It's just a pretty normal thing. And so I have to gauge whether, is this just a soreness and I just continue on with my day and work through it? Or is this a soreness like I have a potential injury and I need to rest? Well, with dogs, because they can't tell us what their level of soreness is, you have to be so much more cautious than we have to be with ourselves. I mean, I was running, I had torn my Achilles tendon and the doctor was like, well, you can't run. You need to be booted and on crutches. And I'm like, nope, got a trial this weekend. Boot me up. Got to go. Where if that had been my dog, oh my God, no, never in a million years. But I can say, nope, not going to do this. And when we have dogs that really love this sport, adrenaline takes over, like Miso was a prime example. I mean, I can't even imagine how much pain she was in at tryout. But adrenaline took over. She loved to run agility. And so she was going to run agility. It didn't matter how bad her back hurt. It wasn't until we got home and all the adrenaline was out of her system that she was like, whoa, this really, really hurts. So that's where I'm trying to figure out with my young dog Ego right now, whether did he just bruise and he needs like a month off, or do we really have like a torn ligament that we need months to recover from? So that's...
Yeah, I don't think the average person realizes how physical dog agility or dog sports are. But, but hearing you, it's extremely physical. So my question, I was asking Heather this earlier because this is our first time meeting each other.
Yes.
And so I was asking her, I said, okay, so dog agility, it's a lot of physical stuff, but when did you realize, okay, there's a mental aspect of this and I got to do something about it? And then how did you wind up meeting up with Heather? And give us that background, if you will.
So I've actually always had a really good mental game, starting all the way back with my horses, because I've been competing for a long time, and ring nerves, things like that never really got to me just because I've been doing it for so long and I've been doing it at a high level for so long. And then when I got Miso, Miso came from a very accomplished line. All her brothers and sisters and father and mother and all were all world team dogs. So she came from a very accomplished line. So there was a little bit of pressure getting this dog on, what are you going to do with her? And then when she was 14 months old, I went over to Finland and worked with some trainers over there for 2 weeks. And she was just doing amazing things at a very young age. And there was a lot of pressure and there was a lot of people watching what I was doing with this dog. And I remember at some of her first trials, so it's not uncommon for high-level handlers, a lot of people, especially people that are new to the sport and learning, they like to record your runs because they like to go back and watch them later and learn from them. So when I first came out with Miso, I remember standing I was at a trial and I was waiting in the chute to go in, and I was looking up in the stands, and there were a lot of people videoing me, and it really got to me. And so I started having like minor anxiety attacks on the start line, and it was affecting Miso. She was always very in tune to me, and she wasn't wanting to go into a sit stay anymore on the start line like she normally did. And like, I would be going up, taking her leash off thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be sick to my stomach. And it was just really weird. And I was probably doing it more to myself than anything. I mean, it was, it was probably more self-inflicted than anything else, honestly. But it was really getting to me, and it was starting to affect my runs. And so I knew I had to do something. And I'm very anti-excuse. I really cannot stand excuses. I feel like there's always a solution. It may be difficult, but there's always a way over, around, through something, but there's always a way. And so instead of just being like, well, this is what it is, I have to just deal with I was like, that's it. I'm going to find a professional. I need to find a professional. So my husband does competitive shooting. And so Lanny is very known, obviously, in the competitive shooting world. And so Mike had gotten his book With Winning in Mind. And so I, was telling my husband about this, and he said, oh, well, you should read Lanny's book. I'm like, okay. So I read it and I was like, yeah, this is very interesting. And so then I got the dog handlers book that Heather had done and read that one. And I'm like, okay. But I still felt like I needed more. I'm one of those people that I do better with like hands-on stuff. So like if I'm going to a seminar or something, you know, I want a working spot versus an auditing, because I need it to be directed completely at me so that when I ask a question, it's directed to me. So I thought, all right, I'm going to reach out to these people. And so I reached out to Heather and started working with her. Thankfully, because I have a pretty strong background in competing, it was a pretty easy journey to get me back in line and getting my focus back. But I continued. I came out there to Texas and did one of the coaching weekends with Lanny. And because what I found very interesting was how much it helped me as a coach, because it's not always easy for me to understand where my students are coming from when they have such a debilitating fear of competing that they can't work through it, because I've never really been at that place. So I wanted for myself to learn more tools so that I could help them be better through this and be able to work through some of the issues that they have.
Wow. No pressure on you, huh?
No, not at all. And then she had me come out to Georgia a couple of times and work with some of her students. So that was really fun.
So so I'm going to pick on Heather a little bit. What is the one thing that you think she helped you the most with? Her personally. Yeah.
So here's the funny thing about Heather.
Let's find out more about Heather.
Oh, no, I'm nervous.
No, don't be nervous. It's good. So the funny thing about Heather is it's not even like you're talking about sports psychology. It's almost like going to a therapy session, because twice now when Heather has come to me, something has happened where I actually wasn't, other than like being there. Like, so the first time, I think Miso was injured the first time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first time Miso was injured, and this was the first injury, not the career-ending injury. This was the first one. And then the second time I had shingles. And so I'm always in like a really bad place when Heather would come out, and she would just say like the right thing at the perfectly right time. And like, I remember when she came out the first time when Miso was injured, she was like, maybe this is your time to really focus on the coaching aspect of this. And this is what's going on with me. So this is giving you that time. And, you know, she knows that I like to be obsessive and be the best. And so she's like, so you're now going to be the best at rehabbing Miso, and you're going to be the best at the coach. And I was like, yes. And so I started this whole journal for Miso, and I was measuring her legs every day and like journaling everything. And it was exactly what I needed to give me something new to focus on versus oh my God, why is this happening to me? Why does this keep happening to me? Because I really have bad luck when it comes to dogs. And sometimes it's hard to not get pulled down into that. And I'm a little bit there right now. And so I'm working really hard and trying to use all my tools to not get pulled back down into oh God, why me? Why does this keep happening to me?
But that kind of segues into the thing Dad always has. You know, Lanny has this saying, overcoming is the currency of champions.
Yeah.
And we've heard quite a bit of overcoming stories just from your perspective. So that's pretty cool. So, yeah. So you like going out there in Georgia, huh?
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they have a great facility, and Barbara's a really great teacher. And it's fun to, so we put a little bit of pressure on, because usually whenever I do a seminar, I don't usually do a seminar with dogs, because obviously I own dogs, but they don't do agility. They're not really all that obedient, to be honest. And so it's very difficult.
I thought you were working on with barking in mind.
With barking.
Hasn't finished that yet?
I've got a couple dogs that could probably help me with making that happen. but when so what we did is we added an actual element on the second day. I'd go for 2 days, and the second day we would actually have the dogs there and do like simulation trial. And I thought that was really, really clever and important, because you can sit all day long and learn what you need to do, But if you're not applying it, then you don't know whether you've really retained information. And so that was really probably my favorite part, was to be able to see what did everyone retain, because the next day we'd put pressure on them, and Barbara would give away maybe a free private lesson, or I would give away a free private lesson. And so it's like, oh, I have to win now. All of a sudden, they get excited, like I've got to win. And then whenever you think you need to win, everything you learned the day before goes out the window. And I'm like, see, this is the deal. Like, this is when it matters.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, it's easy to think, oh, process, not outcome. And then I'm like, yeah, I'll give a free session to whoever wins. Oh my gosh, I need to win. I'm like, what happened to process? So it's a lot. It's a lot of fun. And she works with really great people. And yeah, it's a blast.
Yeah. So I'm
lucky.
It's such a really blast that I invited Barbara to help me with my webinar series. Now, we're not going to be working dogs, obviously, in the webinar series, but it's going to be so much fun because they get to get some of her insight working with some of these agility handlers online. So that's going to be fun in July and August.
Cool.
So yeah,
I can't wait.
Yeah. So are things getting back in the swing of agility this summer? Do we have a lot of competition starting back up, and are people really starting to get into it?
It's starting to go back to normal, which is really nice. The competitions are happening. The big events are happening. They still canceled the world team stuff for this year overseas, but hopefully next year that will happen, which means that hopefully there will be tryouts this year. I don't think I will be going to them. My young dog's not quite ready, and we may be injured. So I don't think I'll be having any tryouts this year, but I'm hoping there's a big national event in November that I'm hoping we'll be able to get to. And then they just announced where AKC Nationals are going to be next year, which is down in Florida. So it's not far from me. So hopefully I need a few more points for Ego, so hopefully we'll be able to get those before the end of the year so that we can do that. I love the big events, so it's kind of my whole life revolves around the big events. To me, like, the local trials are just where I train to figure out what I need for the big events. Everyone has their different goals in agility. There's titles that you can earn, and for some people, they really like the titles, and that's totally fine. Some people just like the social aspect of it, and that's totally fine. For me, I'm just hyper competitive. I like to go to the big events and win all the things and stand on boxes and get medals. And
so you're going to be juggling both competing and coaching.
So if I compete at a big event, I will not coach. I will help my students, but I won't go there in an official coaching capacity. And my students know I have one rule that when my dog is out, they are not allowed to ask me questions, because when my dog is out, I have to be focused on my dog. And they're all wonderful about that. Like, we do group walkthroughs, and they're allowed to talk to me at walkthroughs, but a lot of them won't because they don't want to bother me. So they all just follow behind me and do what I do, which is kind of funny. I look like I have like little ducks behind me as I walk through courses, which is funny. But if I don't have a dog competing in a big event, then I will go in a coaching capacity, and my students will hire me, and I go with them and do all the things for them.
So what is a big mental thing that you've learned over the years that you think are important for someone who's just coming into sport? Maybe not dog agility, it could be any sport, but they're just coming in. They want to be competitive. They want to see how far they can take it. What would be one tip in the mental game that you think would be very important to learn early on?
There's so many.
You only need one.
Probably the biggest one is not focusing on the cue, right? So not necessarily going out there to win per se, because in dog agility, there's so many things that encompass a run. And so you could go out there and have the best run of your life, but maybe the dirt gives out a little bit. And when your dog takes off, the bar comes down and you didn't cue. So does that mean if you didn't cue, that run was trash?
For those people who don't know, cue means qualify, right?
Yes, I'm sorry. Cue means qualify. So in order to qualify in agility, you have to be perfect. In the advanced levels, you have to be perfect. And but sometimes things happen, and things things that aren't in our control. Like, we can make things happen with poor handling choices and things like that, or something hasn't been trained well enough with your dog. But sometimes things just happen. Like sometime a bar will come down because your dog just didn't jump high enough. There was no reason behind it. And I see too many young handlers coming in that they're so into that cue that they'll let all their training go out the window, let the dogs do all these things that they don't allow in training. And then they get so focused on the cue that they miss all the other amazing things that happened out there for them as a team. And that's one of the biggest things that I struggle with my students is not letting your training go out the window just because you want that cue. Because one, it's not fair to the dog. Like the dogs don't understand gray. They understand black and white. This is what I expect of you all the time here. And you need to focus. Like I try to get my students to tell me 3 things that was great in that run. We'll talk about the things that we need to work on later, but let's focus on the 3 things that you loved about that run.
Yeah,
that's so important.
Pretty cool. Right from the beginning, don't focus on the big result. Just focus on
process.
The process of having a clean run is the objective, but don't get so focused on it that it all becomes about qualifying. It's about actually
when you focus
trusting your
on
training.
The process, it will come together. I mean, queuing becomes, I don't want to say easy because there's a lot of training and things that go into getting up to that point. But like when I was running MISO, we were very, very consistent. We could have a weekend of 9 runs and it wasn't uncommon for us to be clean in 9 runs. And it wasn't like I was walking into the run going, we need to be clean. Yeah. It was, we're going to go do us. And us worked, I don't have that consistency yet with Ego, but he's young and we're a young team. And so that comes with time. But right now I'm not focusing on, we're not clean. It's okay. What skills do we need to get to this level?
Yeah. Puts things a little bit more in perspective, I think, as well. So yeah, a lot of people think that's something you learn later on, but we're big, people say, when do you start learning the middle game? What do you say? We say the younger, the better. If it's in the beginning of your career and in your sport, there's a lot of people that are older just starting this that have never competed. This is like big for them. And so for them, it's like, well, you want to start on some of these mental components early. And that's a big one. It's just focusing on trust your training. Let's go out there and run, and then we'll evaluate it. Don't worry about the big cue. So, I like that.
What's the biggest challenge that you see of young handlers? Like people are just getting into the sport. What's the biggest mental struggle that you think they have?
Actually, one of the biggest things I see is comparing themselves to other people. Whether it's somebody who runs the same breed of dog as you, whether it's somebody who has a litter mate or a relation to your dog, it could be your trainer. They get into this, that dog's doing this, so mine should be too, or that person is doing this, so I should be too. And you end up losing sight of the victories and the accomplishments that you and your team are making because you are so focused on what that other team is doing. There's that saying, comparison is the thief of joy. And I love that saying because it is so true. And I've done it too. And then I have to give myself a reality check and be like, come on now, that's not what this is about. They can be, whether the dogs are related or the dogs are the same breed, they're still different animals. They're still different individuals. You're still a different team, so it's really, it's not good to compare yourself to other teams out there. You really need to just focus on you and your team and what you need to do. Now, that's not to say that you can't have people that you're like, they're a wonderful handler. I would like to be that good someday. Or their dog has some really great skills. I would like my dog to have that skill. Great. Then you go train that, or, you work with that handler, or, maybe you need more fitness. So there's things that you can do, but comparing yourselves to other teams is not fair.
Yeah. Comparison is good if you're using it as motivation to improve you, but not to tear you down.
Yeah. So what was that statement again?
Comparison
is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
It's the thief of joy.
That is pretty cool.
That's one of my favorite quotes.
So that was what you're talking about. Oh, she's got so many good quotes. I can't remember them. That was one of them.
That's one. I just like the no excuses. Like, what was it that when you were growing up, What led you to have this philosophy that there's no need for an excuse, like excuses are...
I don't like being told that I can't do something. Maybe it's because I'm a redhead. I don't know. But I've never liked, and a lot of it is the way my mother raised me. I mean, if she had coddled me and, let me help you, let me do this for you, I'm sure I would be very, very different. But I don't like when people just assume that I can't do something. I don't like when somebody assumes that I'm weak or, so I like to prove people wrong. Mm-hmm. I like to prove to myself that I can do things. Like for instance, I never liked feeling like I could potentially be a victim. Just because, I look like I could be an easy target. One, I think redheads attract weirdos. And just with my arms and stuff, and so I decided in my 20s that I was going to do martial arts. So I tried to get friends to join. Nobody wanted to do it with me. And so I was like, fine, I'm doing it by myself. So I joined a Taekwondo school, and that's actually happened to be where I met my husband. So nice. We are a Taekwondo romance, and just celebrated our 18th anniversary.
They literally kicked off their romance.
We did. You can have, it's really good in a marital relationship to spar when you're having problems.
Ooh, that's the secret.
There you go.
I got to start doing martial arts.
You put pads on and you spar, and it's healthy. And so I got my black belt in Taekwondo, and
because you never do anything halfway.
Exactly, because I never do anything halfway, and it's just always been in my mindset that if there's something holding me back, I need to figure out how to fix it. So like when after my very first world team tryout with NISO, I remember the courses for international are much bigger than what we run over here in this country. The yardage is quite intense. And I remember getting to one of the ends of my runs, and we were clean, but my legs were giving out. Like I had nothing left. And I thought, oh my God, if I tank this run because my legs are not strong enough, I am going to be so mad. So I immediately went home and got hooked up with a personal trainer, because I was like, that's not going to happen ever again. And let me tell you, I hate working out. I hate it so much. I loathe going to the gym, which is why I needed to get a personal trainer to hold me accountable, because I knew I wouldn't just go to a gym and work out. But so I hired a personal trainer. I hired a nutritionist so that I could get into better form, because I feel like I do all this stuff for my dog. I need to be an equal partner to her. So if I'm expecting her to eat the best foods and be in the best shape and be muscled, but then I'm falling down on the job because I'm not in the best shape that I'm keeping her in, well, then I'm dropping my side of the team. So I started working out and started running, and was able to, I feel like, hold up my end of the bargain better. Because I knew that if I wanted to stand on those boxes, that was going to be part of the package. And so the days that I didn't want to go to the gym, I would just picture me standing on a box and go, you want that? Well, then get up and go to the gym.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sense. I kind of want to know, do you have a favorite mental management product?
I have two.
Okay, go for it.
So my two books that I love so much are With Winning in Mind, because, I got the shirt just to match, and Freedom Flight. Gotta love Freedom Flight. It's one of those that you can just read over and over. And it's one of the ones I actually read whenever I get into a spot where I'm doing the woe is me, why does this keep happening stuff. I will pull out Freedom Flight and read that.
It's my absolute favorite. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
one of those secrets that people don't know about, but when they find it, they're like, oh, where's this been hiding? Yeah.
Yeah. So basically what I've learned from talking to Barbara today is, number one, never have an excuse.
Nope.
Like, go ahead and if you have a setback or something that's holding you back, find the solution and follow through and go all the way to the end, and do your best to find value in other people instead of comparing yourself to other people. And I think that's really good advice.
And start with the process in the beginning.
Absolutely. Focus on process, not outcome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love it. Well, I'm excited for our webinar series in July and August. We're going to do a 4-part series for handlers. It'll be so much fun.
So how do they find out, people who are listening that might be in the agility sport, how do they find out about that?
If they go to mentalmanagement.com and go into our webinar section, it's listed there. We're going to have 4 parts. So we're going to cover the foundations of mental management. It's actually like the same thing that I did for Barbara in Georgia when we went in person. So it's the first day class just broken into 4 different sections. Cool. So we'll do the foundations, we'll do pressure, we'll do self-image, and we'll do the system, obviously, how to run the system in competition and how to utilize it in training. So, and I'm excited because Barbara will pop in and give her experiences and stories and just kind of keep me on agility focused because she knows a lot more about that than I do. So I'll teach you how to think and she'll teach you why it's important. So it's going to be really fun. So go to mentalmanagement.com. Also, just continue to subscribe to this channel. I think that would be exciting, and keep up with what we're doing. Do you have any other questions?
No, I just know that we got a lot of dog agility. People don't know this, but dog agility is one of our top 5 sports that, as far as popularity that we work in. And they're like, golf makes sense. Shooting sports obviously makes sense. Dog agility, how does that make sense? But after listening to Barbara, you know exactly why it makes sense. So people are like, really, y'all work with that many people? Yeah.
Well, if you're not in control of you, your dog feeds off of your energy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
If you're stressed, your dog is stressed. If you're worried, your dog is worried. If you're concerned, your dog's concerned. And if you don't know what your plan is, your dog will make up one. Is that right? So your dog will decide, oh, I can run however I want. I can run the course I want because you have not set a plan. So it's like dogs read minds, so you better have yours engaged.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, I guess it's a good thing you don't live in Dallas-Fort Worth. Otherwise, we'd be doing dog agility too, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah, don't move here because I don't have time. But I would totally want to.
But I have an RV now, and we're going to be traveling around the country. So maybe I'll come to Texas, and we can do some agility.
Oh, that would be so much fun. My daughter.
So there is a lot of agility in Texas. There's a lot of places by you.
There really is. There really is. It's an exciting sport to get involved in. So well, thank you so much, Barbara, for joining in and being our first guest. We are so excited.
Yay.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. If you want to learn more about Barbara, she has a website. Why don't you go and tell us where we find out about you?
You can go to my website. It's a party of 2, the number 2, agility.com. And I teach classes. I teach online classes at Fenzi Dog Sport Academy, which is an online school. I teach classes there. I teach seminars all over the country. And I host seminars at my place. So yeah, come check us out.
She's amazing.
She's awesome.
Oh,
she's got great personality. Super engaging stories.
I have a feeling this won't be the last time we see you.
I hope not.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing her again and again. So many different aspects, though, about what we can take from different people, from different worlds of sport. It's all about with winning in mind, no matter what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And dog agility is people get into it because they want to win. Mm-hmm. Whether it's just qualifying in a small event or trying to make it to the Worlds, or being a multiple champion, or being a team and helping people do that. It's just fantastic to see somebody do what she's done and then now helping other people to achieve it. That's fantastic.
Well, and it's a way of life too, though. The mental management stuff, you use it just in your everyday life too. It's not even just a sport thing. I find I use it in everyday life all the time.
I love that. That's what we want, is for people to adopt the strategies and the principles and utilize it in their whole life. Yep. Don't just decide this is only for this one area of my life. If you can make your life better by taking the principles and the strategies and applying it, then you're really going to be successful. So.
Absolutely.
All right. That's it. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Remember to subscribe and like, and we'll see you next time.